All right, 49ers intel. And I'll tell you what, we know that Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions today. We know that the 49ers secondary is damn good. That's the topic of my article up on The Athletic. Diameter Lenore's secondary strikes back against Brock Purdy. But what needs a little bit more attention is what actually was special in the practice today. And those were the deep strikes from Brock Purdy. He threw 3 really nice passes deep. 2 of them resulted in touchdowns. 1 of them resulted in one of the 4 interceptions. It went through Juwan Jennings' hands, and George Odom was able to grab it. But I do think that we are seeing a continued evolution of the 49ers offense that already started last season. And if we're going to have a mature analysis of how the 49ers are progressing, the stuff that they're trying in training camp and practice, then we do need to start with some of the deep passes. First, with this one, the 49ers were able to provide some video. Look at the pump fake, almost fooled the cameraman. And then Brock Purdy hit Deebo Samuel in stride. I've got to rewind that right here. Pump fake. We're going to pause it. There's the pump. Oh, cameraman fooled. But the cameraman did recover very quickly. Goes back to Brock Purdy. And that throw was in the air for a good 45 yards. Isaac Yiadom, 22, beaten there. The safety, Jair Brown, doesn't do much better. Then just a little bit later in practice, Brock Purdy has to move to his left. That used to be a weakness for him. Flips his hips, finds Christian McCaffrey. Good luck tackling him in the open field. That would have been a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey in an actual game. So there you have it. The 2 deep strikes. The third one was the one that turned into the interception. The 49ers didn't post a video of that. We're not allowed to tape during this portion of practice. So the third one, I'm just going to have to describe to you, but it was Purdy off schedule. Juwan Jennings about 35 to 40 yards downfield. He's near the sideline. There is a crowd, but Purdy put it exactly where it needed to be. Jennings climbed the ladder, and it looked like he was about to high point the football and come down with it in bounds, or at least try to get his 2 feet in bounds. But it just sort of went through his hands, and George Odom, with some good safety play on that particular coverage assignment, was there to field the football and get both of his feet in bounds, according to the nearest official, after it went through Jennings' hands. But for all intents and purposes, we still had 3 excellent Brock Purdy throws that traveled over 30 yards downfield. And last year, Brock Purdy was already the most accurate quarterback on record on throws of 20 or more yards downfield. And you saw that it opened up the 49ers offense. His ability to hit on those kill shots, that's what the 49ers call them, those kill shots. His ability to hit at a consistent rate on those kill shots really opened up more action for the running game and more action for the passing game underneath. And it's the passing game underneath that actually gave Brock Purdy the most trouble today when we talk about the 4 interceptions. The play that derailed the 49ers offense today, that happened after the 2 long touchdowns that you just saw from the 49ers highlights, the play that really, I thought, threw the 49ers offense off course was actually a pass underneath to Chris Conley that Fred Warner was playing top down, and he nearly undercut for an interception. Warner ended up dropping the pick. But then you saw a pick from Jair Brown. You saw a pick 6 from Diameter Lenore. You saw giveaways that were happening on less aggressive throws from Brock Purdy. His most aggressive throws were not giveaways of his own fault. Of course, the Jennings one that I talked about deep, yes, that was an interception, but it still hit Jennings in the hands. So I think that when we look and contextualize what's happening in these practices, the 49ers are obviously picking certain things they have to work on. Brock Purdy wants to identify what he needs to improve the most for the regular season, what new concepts he wants to attack, what Kyle Shanahan wants to attack. They're all working within those parameters. I think that it's really important to differentiate where Brock Purdy's struggles were and where Brock Purdy's success was in this practice today. And the success happened deep. The struggles happened on some of the shorter throws. It all has to work within the larger context. It's like a mosaic. You know, it was really good this morning. Tim Kawakami interviewed Brock Purdy yesterday. It's on Tim's podcast, and it's also up in an article on The Athletic, but I could scroll down to it and put this up on the screen because I think that the quote from Purdy about the symbiosis with Kyle Shanahan's offense might be the most insightful quote that we've gotten on this topic yet. So I am taking a screenshot for you right now that we're going to toss up onto Google Chrome, which can then be shared onto the screen. And I think that when we talk about interception context and we talk about what Kyle Shanahan wants out of his quarterbacks, this right here, this is a gold mine. Second graph, quote, "It's given me some rules and guidelines to playing quarterback," Purdy said of Shanahan's offense. "But at the same time, there are opportunities where I can still be myself. Scramble drills, on the run, play action pass. I can still have some freedom with how I play, and it's not just robotic. I'm the kind of guy, I need those kind of guidelines on what to do. And it helps me be efficient. I think you could run our offense how Kyle and Greasy coach it. You can be such an efficient quarterback." And I think that's what's playing quarterback in the NFL is all about. If you can be efficient and make the right decisions over and keep your team on the field, you're going to win a lot of games doing that. So I bold efficient in that quote. Brock Purdy didn't emphasize it, but I bold it there because, yes, he was the most efficient quarterback in football. The metrics that we look at, yesterday I shared a ton of them. When he's up in the top right of that graph, that's where he wants to be. That's measuring the productivity that the 49ers want to get, and they get it through a symbiosis of quarterback and play caller. Some of the stuff that Brock Purdy was talking about up here, that it's given, the offense is giving me rules and guidelines to playing quarterback, but at the same time, there are opportunities where I can still be myself. Scramble drills, on the run, play action pass. Well, I think that you see one such example right here. Right now, Purdy's within the structure of the play. He's in the pocket. Look at Dominic Pooney there, 77, looking for somebody to pick up. But as you can see, Aaron Banks behind him, 65, is getting beaten. Maybe that's Javon Hargrave. Maybe it's somebody else. Either way, the structure of the play is not going to be good enough. Brock Purdy's going to have to move out of the structure. He escapes right here. Now he's scanning the field for out-of-structure opportunities. He's going to flip his hips. Look at that quick release. Kalia Davis tries to get his hand up in time, to no avail. Brock Purdy's going to hit Christian McCaffrey for the touchdown. So this first play was in structure. Pump fake, touchdown. You rely on Deebo Samuel, his route running ability, and on Brock Purdy's pump fake, which is really quality to set things up. The second one, though, this was out of structure. So one play is set up by Kyle Shanahan's offense solely, and then obviously Purdy has to execute it. The second one with Christian McCaffrey running into the end zone is made possible by Brock Purdy breaking from the initial design of the play to make something happen on his own. The interceptions today all happened within structure of the offense. Now, the structure might have failed the 49ers a couple times. There was the Jair Brown interception might have been a sack. He can't touch the quarterback, so we can't tell if it was a sack. But all of the shorter picks did have a sense of offensive line, I don't want to say collapse in front of Brock Purdy, but some offensive line weakness in front of Purdy. And that's been a theme over the course of this entire 49ers training camp so far, because it is unsettled. Trent Williams is not around yet. It was a weakness outside of Trent Williams last year. You do need to protect Purdy better. He's shown the ability to deliver off schedule, as he did on that throw to Christian McCaffrey. But common sense says that a cleaner pocket needs to be preserved. And we've seen some very unclean pockets early in this training camp. But the deep passes today, where obviously the protection was either good enough or Brock Purdy was able to buy enough time to work, those, I think the 49ers, they've put in the work on those over the course of the first week of training camp. They're hitting on the timing there now. They weren't hitting on the timing of those a couple days ago. That is working. Now it's about lowering the interception rate and lowering the giveaway rate on some of the shorter stuff, which Brock Purdy's already successfully did in games last season. I think he needs to lower it even further. I've broken out the efficiency tables. The one area where Brock Purdy was weaker compared to the league average was with the giveaways. The interception rate was a little bit higher than you want it to be, obviously inflated by a game like Baltimore, but he did throw those interceptions, so you do have to find a way around them. I think that when this puzzle is completed, and right now it's July 30th, the 49ers are going to want to combine the lower giveaway rate from the goal that they had last year, and obviously a reduction from what we saw at the practice today, a lower giveaway rate on the short game. He's not going to want to have robber safeties and linebackers crossing his receivers' faces on throws that he's just setting up the dry there. And they're going to want to pair that with the bigger downfield efficiency rate. And it was already really good last year on those downfield passes, but I think that on the two plays that I just showed you, the 49ers have some potential to take that another level. For example, we didn't see Christian McCaffrey roaming downfield on throws of 30 plus yards off schedule as much last year. I think that could be a new dimension of the 49ers offense in 2024. Further involve Christian McCaffrey in the explosive pass game. The pump and go game, we didn't see all too much of that last year either, but based on my research of what Brock Purdy was like at Iowa State in college when he really made a name for himself, they call him the pump fake god at Iowa State. It was the pump fakes that really made a name for Brock Purdy early in his college career. So you then look at something like this, and you see this pump fake fool the cameraman and obviously fool Isaac Yiadom enough to open up Deebo Samuel. You start to think of possibilities for the 49ers offense in 2024. All right, we got a lot to talk about. That was just the intro about Brock Purdy, but a lot of people are discussing DJ Moore's new contract with the Chicago Bears. 4 years, $110 million, with $82.6 million total guaranteed. That is not a full guaranteed amount. We don't know the fully guaranteed amount yet, but that comes out to $27.5 million per year. So the APY hints that this is not a mega deal. A mega deal would be anything, I think, over 31 or 32 million per year. The mega deal belongs to Justin Jefferson right now in that wide receiver market. So this is not a mega deal. This is probably a little bit closer to what the number is right now between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers, although we can't say that for certain. The rumors are, the reports are, I think Mike Silver put it out there a couple months ago, the 49ers have a take it or leave it offer out to Brandon Aiyuk for $26 million annually. This is $27.5 million annually. Now, as you know, we can't know much more until we know the fully guaranteed money. Both Rappaport and Schefter started talking about guarantees in the first 10 years of DJ Moore's contract, and supposedly he's the first NFL receiver to ever have that. But to me, it seemed like a lot of word salad. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. It seemed to me that came straight from the agent in this case, and I won't read too much into it because all I know is that I don't know the fully guaranteed money just yet. I'm going to go back to the old scale for Brandon Aiyuk that I've talked about throughout this entire offseason. Where will the fully guaranteed money be? Because I think that is the main point of contention between the 49ers and Aiyuk right now. I think that we could toss out numbers like $26 million per year, $28 million per year, $27.5 million per year to help wrap our heads around what these negotiations might look like in a more simple way, because most people don't like delving into the math equations of things. Sometimes I have to do that up on the screen here. And even for me, it's tiresome, even though I live and breathe this stuff. So I think that the average per year gives us a good cursory idea of where these deals are. But the bread and butter is the fully guaranteed money. That's where Justin Jefferson's deal blew everybody's away with $88 million in fully guaranteed money. And that's what I need to know for DJ Moore, because $82.6 million right here is not the fully guaranteed total. That includes the injury guarantees in this contract. I would say that if this is a true $27.5 million per year, which means if the fully guaranteed money reflects the average per year, that means that you'll see the fully guaranteed money be in the 30s. But if it's up in the 40s or even the 50s here, then that is something that could push Brandon Aiyuk's market upward. That would be something that I think encourages Brandon Aiyuk, at least for as long as he can hold in right now, not technically hold out. That could be something that would encourage him to say, no, I'm drawing a line in the sand. This is how much fully guaranteed money I want. But if DJ Moore is closer to the low 30s in terms of fully guaranteed money, then that doesn't offer Brandon Aiyuk anything new to stand on. I saw Brandon today at the facility. I walked by him on my way from the practice field back into the press conferences. He was in good spirits. He was smiling. How you doing? How was your off season kind of thing? It seemed like there was a lot of levity to Brandon Aiyuk when I saw him today. It's funny because, a lot of people talk about the drama surrounding contract negotiations and hold-ins and holdouts. And the stereotype is that the player is sullen, that he was dragged to the facility against his will, that he's just going to be sitting there pissed off the whole time if he's holding in. But we already have a few data points to indicate that that's not necessarily the case with Brandon Aiyuk. We have the data point of him talking to John Lynch on the first day of practice. Then I think it was the second or third day where he was watching practice with John Lynch in center field. Obviously, it didn't seem like those two hated each other. And then, yeah, we'll consider it a data point. I walked right by Brandon Aiyuk and we talked for a few seconds, and he seemed to be in good spirits. So he's sitting here waiting for something to budge regarding this holdout. It might have to be Aiyuk himself that budges if the 49ers are in take it or leave it mode. But the DJ Moore contract today is certainly related. I just don't know how related until we can see the fully guaranteed money. More 49ers intel from practice today. We're going to move to Ricky Pearsall. This was Ricky's first session of team activity today. He was in on the individual drills the day before. He was not in on the team drills the day before. So the hamstring obviously wasn't acting up. They threw Ricky Pearsall into team drills, and he made a really, really nice catch from Brandon Allen. I mean, the Eric Harris, the veteran safety the 49ers picked up about midstream last season, he hit Pearsall hard after Pearsall had a sky up to get it. It was an intermediate ball about 20 yards downfield, right over the middle of the field. And so Pearsall climbs the ladder, he makes the catch, and he leaves himself exposed to a hit. There was no other way to make the catch. And he takes the hit from Eric Harris, but he holds on to the football. And that was Ricky Pearsall's first activity as far as catching the ball in the team period this training camp. So it was a highly anticipated moment. Pearsall made the play. A couple plays later, I will say that it seemed that Ricky was very involved in run blocking. It seemed that he was a willing participant, which is another good sign for the 49ers. You had Isaac Yiadom on his side. Yiadom, who got beat by Deebo Samuel on that deep touchdown. And Ricky Pearsall did a good job to shield Isaac Yiadom out of a running play. That's one of the only run plays that I saw Ricky Pearsall. I was watching him. It's like a dedicated viewing experience for me. I wanted to make sure that he was blocking well on a running play, and he did. We'll have more tape of that, and we'll have more insight into how he's run blocking as he picks up more snaps. But then came the second Ricky Pearsall target. This was when Tanner Mordecai was quarterback. One of Mordecai's two attempts. He didn't have very long in there, but Mordecai attempted two passes over one drive in his first team period action was for Ricky Pearsall on third down. And again, this was over the middle, about 20 yards downfield. Ricky had to try to climb a ladder because Mordecai threw it even higher. And as he climbed the ladder, the ball, he couldn't haul it in. It would have been a nice catch, an above average catch. It's one that Ricky Pearsall will tell you he absolutely should have grabbed, and he didn't. But you live and you learn, and you move on to the next challenge. That brings me to my article about the 49ers secondary. I'm going to send this over to Mike so he can toss it into the description, because these defensive backs are playing really good football. I think they've got 15 combined interceptions, the secondary does, over the course of the first week of training camp, which is a high number. 49ers have led the NFL in interceptions over the past two seasons during the regular season. So now that they're picking up these interceptions throughout the first week of training camp, that I think validates a lot of what the secondary has been doing. And it also validates what Deommodore Lenoir is saying about his teammates. You'll see in this article, when you go and check it out, that his first quote is, "Every guy in the room is good. This is the best collective group that we've had since my rookie year." And his rookie year was 2021, so that encapsulates 4 seasons now. And I think you go back, they had Jason Verrett playing really good football in 2020 before the injuries or in between injuries. They had Richard Sherman still delivering the end of his prime in 2019. And in 2018, they definitely weren't nearly as good. They only had 2 interceptions, which was a record NFL low. So what they have now, I think it's safe to say, is the best secondary in the Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch era. They also have Brandon Staley, the assistant head coach, who is working primarily with the defensive backs. Listen to what Diamond Lenore said about Brandon Staley.
I really respect him, as a coach, as a person, the joy he brings to our room, and with just the knowledge, of teaching us so many things, it's a blessing to have him there. Playing the angles of football, and playing the percentages. He kind of told me, like, the percentages of you getting a fade every down is less likely. So why would you play that, with the start of the downs? Actually think when you out there, you already got the talent.
So that's Diamond Lenore on Brandon Staley. It's the first time we've heard from a player about the specific impact that Brandon Staley might be having on this defense. And I mean, he was one of the better coordinators in the game when he was a defensive coordinator for the Rams in 2020. He was really able to get a lot out of players like Lenore, versatile players like Lenore. Remember, he had Jalen Ramsey on that LA team, and Jalen Ramsey played outside and inside. It was a star position. It's exactly what Diamond Lenore is doing now. Demo talked about the fact that he first became 100% confident, truly confident, mixing it between nickelback and outside cornerback after the DeAndre Swift hit. Remember when he decleated DeAndre Swift against the Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the blowout? My article on Diamond Lenore goes through his development in that game, in that blowout over the Eagles, his cerebral development, his psychological development as a quarterback, as a cornerback. And what happened is the 49ers were up big, 40-something to the teens, right? It was a blowout win. And Lenore gave up an off-schedule scramble drill catch to Devontae Smith. And he saw it as a temporary lapse in effort, or he just was disappointed in himself. Diamond Lenore told himself, I am better than that. He got pissed off and he wanted to go hit somebody. And then DeAndre Swift, the running back, was on a crossing pattern, and Diamond Lenore just lit him up. And he said that was the moment that he really fully came into his own as somebody who could play both cornerback and nickelback at a high level. That was when the light fully came on for Diamond Lenore. Now, I think that part of that light came on the season prior. He had a really good game in Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game that the 49ers lost. He and Charvarius Ward did. He had 2 interceptions in that postseason. I think that was Diamond Lenore's big announcement that he had arrived late 2022 in the postseason. But then he established himself as a truly confident guy worthy of a big second contract. Well, I think the 49ers and Lenore are negotiating that now. He established himself over the course of that 2023 season, 3 interceptions, and then the big moment when he hit DeAndre Swift, and he talked about that. So check out the article on Diamond Lenore. Then you should listen to Kyle Juszczyk talking about the 49ers running back room. And guess who he mentions in that 49ers running back room? This is going to make some fans excited.
Been really impressed with those guys. I think we have a really special running back room. Quite honestly, I think this is the best running back room I've ever been in. From top to bottom, I think we got some really good players, and been particularly impressed with Cody Schrader. He's works his absolute tail off. He's very intelligent. He goes out there and just plays a good, consistent, clean game. And we've really enjoyed having him. But all those guys have been impressive. They're all very smart, do things the right way, and I love our room.
All right, so we're going to open up the roster now. Kyle Juszczyk is talking about the running back position. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey is at the top. I talked yesterday about Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, 2A and 2B. Jordan Mason is really knocking on that door to get more second team running back reps. Obviously, Isaac Guerendo is hurt. That Guerendo injury looks like it might open the door for Cody Schrader. I should probably reverse the depth chart order here between Schrader and Patrick Taylor Jr. I think Schrader is ahead of the free agent that the 49ers picked up this offseason. In Taylor, he was originally with the Green Bay Packers. It does seem that Cody Schrader is getting more opportunities. This, to me, is fascinating because we've seen something similar play out with Brock Purdy. Schrader didn't have great measurables coming out of college, but he did have great measurable statistics that he delivered on the football field, just like Brock Purdy delivered at Iowa. Same thing, Schrader in Missouri. And his college tape, despite the fact that he didn't run a fast 40, that the other metrics weren't great, some were even objectively below average, his college tape showed a guy that could just play the game of football. Brock Purdy had a great 10-yard split. Physically, everything else might have been a little bit lacking for Brock Purdy. But the tape showed that he could play the position. He could play the game of football. And guess what translated to NFL success? The ability to play the game of football. Sometimes we get so caught up in draft order and physical measurements and 40 times and all this and all that, that we forget to evaluate what's right in front of us. And that's somebody's ability to actually play the game for which they're being drafted to play. So I think Cody Schrader is starting to fall into the bucket of players who are succeeding despite the fact that they don't have great physical resumes, because he's got an actual football resume. He actually was arguably the best back in the SEC over the course of the past couple of years, over the course of this past year especially. And as you heard, Kyle Juszczyk is very excited about him. All right, time to move this to 49ers Q&A. We can talk about the deep passes from Brock Purdy. We can talk about the roster. We can talk about Juszczyk on Schrader, Lenore on Brandon Staley. The world is our oyster. Let's go. Let's have some fun. Yes, smash the like button. Floyd the Barber says that he watched every Missouri snap of Schrader's and he will not be denied. Yeah, the guy is tough as hell. He's a bulldog. That's the kind of running mentality that the 49ers do like out of their running backs. That's for sure. What's the scoop on Danny Gray? I thought Danny, and I could go over some of what happened today in the trusty notebook in one-on-ones. I thought Danny Gray had the nicest route that I saw today. I was watching the cornerbacks and the receivers in the one-on-ones at practice. I logged it all, so I have to be a little bit more organized with this because we're starting to get a lot of information in this from practice. But when I watched the corners and the receivers, there were some good routes run. There was also some good coverage, but I didn't see anything quite as deceptive and as, jarring in a good way as the comeback that Danny Gray ran coming off of the streak. Let's find the page for today. I jumbled this a little too much, but we'll have it soon enough. We have yesterday's Ricky Pearsall. Here we are. Cool. So here are the one-on-ones that I logged from today. And Gray beat Samuel Womack. It was 6-0 on the comeback. We know Danny Gray could move, right? The straight line speed is awesome. The question is, how subtle is his route running? How many adjustments and how effective can his adjustments be on the fly? How well can he block? I mean, that's going to be a huge, huge variable determining whether or not Danny Gray is going to see playing time this year. But he answered one of my change of direction questions today when he was full throttle ahead. I mean, he got Samuel Womack ready for the streak. Samuel Womack thought the go ball was coming, and Samuel's a fast guy as well, but he was ready to get on his horse. He had already partially gotten on his horse to be able to keep up with Danny Gray. But then Suddenly, Danny Gray planted a foot in the ground and was able to change direction at the snap of a finger, come back to the football, and he made a nice catch up against the sideline. So I thought that was an impressive play from Danny Gray, and thumbs up on that one. There was a good play from Isaac Yadam a little bit later on when he beat Danny Gray in coverage. So Gray, according to my notes, was 1 for 2, or you could say 2 for 3, because earlier on, Samuel Womack forced an incompletion, but there was pass interference on the play. The officials actually threw a flag. So 2 for 3 for Danny Gray today in one-on-ones with a really, really nice route. Being Butterfly wants to know if Brock Purdy and the offense is practicing on super tight windows against tough press man coverage like they faced in the Super Bowl. Yeah, well, I mean, the 49ers like the press man. That's one skill set that they really like their corners to have. So there has been tight coverage. And I think a lot of what the secondary is doing has been giving Brock Purdy trouble establishing the short to intermediate game that he loves establishing. He's thrown a few dimes over the course of the last week where he's had to go over the linebacker on some of those 15-yard intermediates, the crossers, mainly to Deebo Samuel, guys like that. And we know that Purdy's excellent with those throws, but it's been the 6 to 9 yarders, maybe the 8 yarders, that have created a little bit more trouble because there hadn't been a whole lot of separation. Like today, when he went going for Chris Conley, there wasn't a whole lot of separation. Fred Warner came barreling in and knocked the football away. So the 49ers I don't know if they're working against the same exact coverage concepts that they saw at the Super Bowl. I'm watching this from the sideline. I don't have the tape of this, so I don't have your all 22 view to tell you exactly what they're working on and what they're fighting against as an offense. But I do know that they like the press man defensively, and I do know that some of the shorter concepts have been very, very heavily guarded by the defense, which probably lends itself logically to Brock Purdy hitting on some of the deeper throws. He's able to get guys behind the defense when he does have enough time or when he buys enough time, because there is a focus on cutting off the 49ers' shorter pass game. Will Dominic Pooney be on the 53-man roster? That is a resounding yes. Health permitting, everybody needs to stay healthy, obviously, but Pooney is already with the first team offensive line, as you can see right here. Dominic Pooney. Well, I mean, I don't have him listed in the first team offensive line because there's a guy hurt, but he's replacing Burford and Feliciano as the 49ers first team right guard. They were even playing him with the third team at right guard so he would get enough reps. And that tells me one thing. That tells me that the 49ers are getting ready for the very real possibility that Dominic Pooney sees significant playing time at right guard this year. Either way, he's going to be on the roster. You don't have to worry about that. Third round pick. He just looks so professional out there. When I first saw Dominic Pooney, then, it just struck me that he's got an NFL body. You're not going to need to add much weight and probably not even add much strength to make it work at the NFL level. He got in charge of his nutrition midway through his college career when he moved from Central Missouri to Kansas, and he started to be able to use that many more resources. I mean, he's impressive. He's a really impressive individual. He's impressive physically. It looks like he's developed enough to potentially deliver right away. And right now, he is the 49ers' first team right guard. So if this draft pick works out, you have to remember that Dominic Pooney was a better pass protector than a run blocker in college. He didn't give up a single sack at Kansas. That could potentially be one of the tickets that makes the 49ers offensive line better in pass protection, which is a area of needed improvement, in my opinion. Pooney with the pads on in practice. Yes. I don't know if you're asking me how he is with the pads on, but if you are, Pooney today, I go to one-on-ones. He was over on the defensive line side of the ball, and I have it here. Dominic Pooney beat Jordan Elliott, or at least played that one to a draw. He didn't lose to Jordan Elliott. Took on Evan Anderson. That's 66. That's the undrafted free agent defensive tackle who got $280,000 guaranteed from the 49ers. So definitely beat Anderson, and he also beat T.Y. McGill. Elliott is the highest level of those defensive tackles that Dominic Pooney went against in one-on-ones. Big, wide body will test your strength. And I thought that Pooney fared fine against that bigger body and that challenge today at practice. Thank you. I thought you guys might appreciate the dead hat. Matches with the shirt too. It's the season of the hat, and we're picking up a couple more hats this week to give you guys some more variety as we move further into training camp. Whose stock has dropped the most? It's not a bad question. I don't know if I have an answer yet. We could look through the roster. I would say is somebody like Logan Thomas. When the 49ers first signed Logan Thomas, I saw 55 catches and I thought, okay, they might want more of a receiving threat. I figured they wouldn't be signing this guy unless they thought he could block really well in their system, right? But it turns out that he's going to be a work in progress as far as the blocking goes. So my initial thought about Logan Thomas being the tight end 2, I don't think that's going to pan out. I think that Eric Saubert is very clearly the 49ers tight end 2 at this point. So based on that, you could say maybe a little bit of dropping in stock from Logan Thomas. I'm looking at receivers though. Tariq Owens had a really nice day today. I can't say that his stock has dropped despite the fact he had a few drops during drills over the past couple days. I mean, he caught 2 deep touchdowns today, one in one-on-ones and one in team drills. Isaac Guerendo's stock probably has dropped a bit, right, with the hamstring injury, which is a recurrence of the hamstring injuries that he suffered in college. So maybe he's at the top of the list that Mike is asking about right now. I thought we might see a little bit more competition at the swing tackle position. So I'm talking Brandon Parker, Chris Hubbard throwing themselves into the mix. That hasn't happened yet. So maybe you could say those guys have had some stock go down. It's been Jalen Moore on one side and for the 49ers swing tackle position. Maybe they're thinking Hubbard at that right side and Moore on the left side. Maybe they're thinking of specializing that, but that obviously would require carrying another player on the 53-man roster. Going to the defense, stock up, stock down, boy. I would say Ambry Thomas, but he had a nice interception in practice today. Just going to be an uphill battle for a lot of these guys to make the roster. Hopefully that answers your question to a certain degree, but it's still early in camp. That's about as well as I can answer it. Logan Thomas did not retire. No, he is playing for the 49ers. George Kittle says that he looks like a very tall Luigi because he grew out a mustache. Who's the best receiver in camp? Well, Deebo Samuel. Now, if you're just looking for, and Brandon Aiyuk is there, but I'm assuming that guys that are practicing is what you're asking about. We'll see what Pearsall can bring to the table. Juwan Jennings is just a really good route runner. This technically does things really well, but as far as best player, it's got to be Deebo Samuel out of the guys that aren't holding in. Any news regarding the new kickoff? I know that Brian Schneider, the 49ers special teams coordinator, is flirting with putting Deebo Samuel and Kyle Juszczyk back there. Because if it's going to be more like a normal offensive play, yeah, maybe you put one of your best runners, especially a guy that could run in a little bit more space like Deebo Samuel. Maybe you pair him up with a good lead blocker. Kyle Juszczyk does so much lead blocking for the 49ers. He understands those angles. That could be something that the 49ers do indeed do. Earlier today, Juszczyk said this is the best running back room I've ever been in. Yes, he did say that. We could play it one more time.
Been impressed. Been really impressed with those guys. I think we have a really special running back room. Quite honestly, I think this is the best running back room I've ever been in. From top to bottom, I think we got some really good players, and been particularly impressed with Cody Schrader. He's works his absolute tail off. He's very intelligent. He goes out there and just plays a good, consistent, clean game. And we've really enjoyed having him. But all those guys have been impressive. They're all very smart, do things the right way. And I love our room.
So that's what Kyle Juszczyk thinks about the running back room. I actually handled this question, I realized, a few minutes ago, but one more time, Mitchell and Mason, with the emergence of Jordan Mason into a capable potential number 2, you've got really nice depth behind Christian McCaffrey, adaptable depth, which is what you need. Let's see what Isaac Guerrero can bring to the table after he's back from his hamstring injury. How's Floyd looking? Leonard Floyd, I think he's looking really good. He's looking like a wide receiver. That guy is lanky, but that's Leonard Floyd. That's how he's played his whole career. He's athletic. He's a good nose for the football. He does not have a whole lot of weight on him. He's a new age defensive end, that's for sure. Did Nugent and Bryson Mays get reps? Yeah, Bryson Mays is getting a lot of left guard reps for the third team. Drake Nugent is playing center for the third team. Pair of 49ers undrafted free agents. Devondre Campbell today on this pass right here to Christian McCaffrey. It was Devondre Campbell. I don't know if it was man coverage, but it was the throw goes over Campbell. You could see him very, very briefly right there. There's Devondre, 59, reaching for that football, but McCaffrey clears him, and McCaffrey is off to the races. The other day, Devondre Campbell was in man coverage against Christian McCaffrey, and he was able to blanket him down the sideline. It was one of the more surprising plays of training camp. Devondre gave up the highest passer rating in the league of qualifying linebackers last year, so the pass coverage wasn't good with the Green Bay Packers. But 2 seasons ago, 2 seasons prior to that, Devondre Campbell was an all-pro. So obviously he's slowed down, but maybe he's in a happier spot now, new team, not complaining about the coaching staff anymore, playing next to Fred Warner, playing, he mentioned that he could play faster now because he's playing on a defense with so many great players that there's not a lot of focus on him. Maybe that's allowed Devondre Campbell to tap into the fountain of youth, 31 years old. I said that Moody was 10 and 11 a couple days ago. He is now 18 of 19. So to answer Chris's question, Jake Moody has not missed a kick since we last checked in on him. That's low-key really good news for the 49ers. How's Jordan Elliott looked? He looks big and wide, much bigger than I expected him to be, because I watch tape of these guys and I see him obviously on tape. I saw him when the 49ers played the Browns last year. He's shown up and he's a body. He's a guy you're like, okay, this guy might be able to plug some of the runs in the middle. He had a really good run stop win rate for Cleveland. Jordan Elliott did last year. I think ranked number 6 in the league. And that's obviously what the 49ers are trying to improve in that phase of the game. We got somebody concerned that Pearsall might be another Jalen Hurd. Listen, I think that's just so off base. Anybody could get hurt, right? But remember that Jalen Hurd was a power back in college at Tennessee before he transferred to Baylor and became a receiver. So he was a power back in the SEC, and that put mileage on Jalen Hurd's body. That definitely could have been related to the injuries that later derailed his NFL career. Ricky Pearsall was never a power back in the SEC. Ricky Pearsall has always been a receiver who could really move. He's got some nice finesse moves and strength to go with it, right, in that lower body. He was very involved in run blocking today when I was watching him. So if he doesn't have the same type of mileage as Jalen Hurd, I think it's really unfair, and it's a huge jump in logic to say, there should be concern that he might be the next Jalen Hurd, because these are 2 totally different backgrounds. Best Chinese food in the Bay. I will answer your question a little bit later. I think I got to do some research there. People could put this in the comment section. What's the best Chinese food in the Bay Area? Put it in the chat section. Put it in the comment section if you're watching later. And that's going to be another addition to my food repertoire this season. That's for sure. Do I consider the team vulnerable at QB 2 and 3? I think any team is at least somewhat vulnerable. I think last year the 49ers were in an exceptional position. Sam Darnold was a hell of a backup. that the 49ers had in 2023. Who are they going to have this year? Is it going to be Allen? Is it going to be Josh Dobbs, who's been looking better for the 49ers? I don't know. I would think I'm favoring Josh Dobbs in that battle and Brandon Allen QB3 unless Tanner Mordecai can come up and beat one of those two guys, which doesn't look like it's all too big of a possibility right now. But the backup quarterback spot is definitely not as talented as it was last year with Sam Darnold. Mike says something with Hot Pot. There's a great Hot Pot restaurant out on Taraval. So that's where the L line runs. Well, I hope they finally reopened the L Muni Metro line. People have to take a bus, and it's been like 2 years. You have to take a bus all the way out to the San Francisco Zoo on Ocean Beach because they're doing track work. But anyway, there's a great hot pot place there. Maybe that's what we feature. But I would love to see what people think in the comment section. Mission Chinese is good, although that's kind of new age cuisine. I don't know if that's going to be your standard Chinese fare. It's really good. I mean, that's creative, and it's just down the street from me, actually. So I actually went to Mission Chinese last year. All right, any more questions? We're coming up on our 49-minute time. We're at 46 right now. Or you guys can just keep on talking about food in the comment section. You know what? It's been a hard day of work. We're going to call it. Everybody hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me see where we're at right now. I think we're in a really, really good spot. I'm checking. Got to get to my page on YouTube Studio. 74,070. So this is growing astronomically. We're going to be at 74,100, I would hope, by tomorrow. If you hit the subscribe button now, we're getting closer. We're trying to get to 75K as quick as humanly possible. And then the 100,000 for the YouTube plaque after that. The growth has been unreal to watch. I've really, really appreciated it. So you can help it out with a like if you've already subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, the best thing you can do is hit that subscribe button right now. All right, everybody, take care. I will see you later.